King Review Print Speaking to the Blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishopbriggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QNReview. That is @ CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QNreview.com. That is INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 17th of April 2025. From the news section. Easter weekend bus service for in and around Glasgow. This article has been written by Amy Miles and it's being read by me, Corey. Easter weekend bus services have been announced for Glasgow and the surrounding areas. McGill bus service will run a normal timetable on Good Friday, April 18th, Easter Saturday, April 19th and Easter Sunday, April 20th. However, on Easter Monday, April 21st, most services will switch to a Sunday schedule. Some exceptions apply. Services 330, the 330A, the 331, the 901/906 and the X7 will follow a Saturday timetable on Easter Monday. Several of McGill's routes will not run at all on Easter Monday. These include 1A and 1B, Johnston Station to Kilmacombe, the 6, Silverburn to Paisley via Nits Hill, Hartley and Lawn End, the 10, Hawkhead Estate to Royal Alexandria Hospital, the 17 and 17A, Foxbar to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital via Royal Alexandria Hospital and Cardonald, the 20, Johnson to Paisley via Royal Alexandria Hospital and the University of the West of Scotland, the 30, Johnson to Speightstown Circular, the 31, Johnston to Cochrane Castle, the 32, Johnson to Kilbarchan, the 38A, Johnson to Glasgow, including journeys from Killarachchan and Speightstown, the 81 and the 81A, Linvale to Duntocher via Clydebank and Hardgate, the 124, Cardonald to Govan Asda, the 364, Newton Farm to Parkhead, the 374, Shawlands to Silverburn via Giffnock and Thorney Bank, the 521, the 521A and the 521H, Erskine to Bishopton, the 904, Paisley to Largs, the X21, Paisley to Glasgow via Dean Park and the M8, the X22, Port Glasgow to Clydebank, the X23, Erskine to Glasgow via Bray Head, the 507, Greenock to Tumpet Hill via Cardwell Bay, the 530, Port Glasgow to Kilmacombe, and the 906X, Clyde Flyer, Largs to Glasgow. Meanwhile, First Bus will also maintain normal service for Friday, April 18th to Sunday, April 20th. On Easter Monday, buses will operate on a Sunday timetable. It's also worth noting that there will be no night buses running on Easter Monday. That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Amy Miles, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 17th of April 2025. From the news section. Glasgow Homeless Charity warns in-work poverty is at record high. This article has been written by Amanda Keenan, and it's being read by me, Connie. A homeless charity is calling for urgent donations to help those struggling to survive on the breadline. Emmaus Glasgow needs support to distribute food and essentials in the city centre as the number of people unable to make ends meet on the living wage reaches a record high. The appeal follows the release of the Scottish Government's Poverty and Income Inequality Report, which highlights a rise in work in poverty. The data shows that having a job is not always enough to lift people out of the poverty trap, especially when wages are low or working hours are limited. Alarmingly, statistics show that, after housing costs, more than 2/3 of children in relative poverty were living in working households between 2020 and 2023. Emmaus Glasgow provides a home, support, work opportunities and training for people with experience of homelessness, as well as a soup kitchen at Cadogan Street. The charity also gives out food, clothing and other supplies to families in need at Chinside Primary School. Chief Executive Officer of Emmaus Glasgow, Richard Alwood, said, "The rise in in-work poverty is deeply concerning. Many people working hard to provide for their families are still unable to make ends meet. Sadly, this is something we're seeing firsthand at our soup kitchen and at our local primary school. Many people who are homeless and come to us for support have also faced incredibly hard times and need help tackling these going forward." For more information, visit www.emmaus, which is emmaus.org.uk/Glasgow. That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Amanda Keenan, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times, on Thursday the 17th of April 2025. From the news section. Major Glasgow Festival reveals packed programme for 2025. This article has been written by Amy Miles, and it's being read by me, Corey. Westfest is set to return for its third annual festival this June, with organisers promising a packed and vibrant programme for 2025. Recognised as Glasgow's largest community-led cultural festival, Westfest continues to capture the imagination of participants, residents and visitors to the West End every June. Organisers have just unveiled the full programme for 2025, which will run from the 1st of June to June 29th, featuring events across 60 venues throughout the area. This year's festival will showcase an eclectic mix of events, performances and activities, with something for everyone. Audiences can expect the familiar blend of street festivals, concerts, community gatherings, workshops and exhibitions. Festival favourites are set to make a return, including the Big Sunday, Bard in the Botanics, the Glasgow Vintage Bus Tour, and the Kelvin Grove Outdoor Ceilidh. A major highlight for many is the colourful and free outdoor programme. This year's line-up includes Kelvin Grove Outdoor Ceilidh, Sunday, June 1st, 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. Vinacombe Street Gala, Saturday, June 7th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. A.R. Ceilidh and Deer Green Music Fest at the University of Glasgow, Sunday, June 15th, 12:30 p.m. until 7 p.m. Midsummer Solstice Fire Show at Kelvin Grove Galleries, Saturday, June 21st, 9:30 p.m. The Big Sunday on Kelvin Way, Sunday, June 29th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Festival Director Brendan McIlroy found Westfest in 2022 after recognising an overwhelming demand for community and cultural events in the West End, particularly following the loss of previous local festivals. He said, "It's hard to believe Westfest is now in its third year. Despite some alarming funding cuts across the arts and events sectors, the festival has continued to grow and is going from strength to strength." Last year, it's estimated a total attendance across the events exceeded 110,000. For 2025, we're aiming to increase that number and expand our community events programme, producing and supporting activities across the whole west of Scotland, not just in Hill Head, as many might expect. Also returning this year is the popular Illustrated Talks programme at Glasgow's Kelvin Hall, in partnership with Glasgow 850, featuring over 200 free talks and workshops led by prominent voices from the West End. Despite facing ongoing funding challenges and uncertain climate for arts and events, Westfest 2025 is going ahead thanks to the support of partners including the National Lottery Community Fund and Cala Homes, who are sponsoring the Big Sunday on Kelvin Way. The Westfest team will launch this year's festival brochure and website on Easter Sunday, 20th of April, with a celebratory performance tour across the West End, featuring groups such as Sambaya Bamba, Brass Eye and Think Circus. Further details and timings will be shared via Westfest's official Facebook page. Organisers are inviting people from across Glasgow to come along and join in the celebrations. That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Amy Miles, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times, on Thursday the 17th of April 2025. From the news section. When are Glasgow's shopping centres open this Easter weekend? This article has been written by Amy Miles, and it's being read by me, Corey. Applying a bit of retail therapy over the Easter weekend, whether you're hunting for last-minute Easter eggs, refreshing your spring wardrobe, or simply looking for a family-friendly day out, here's everything you need to know about shopping centre opening hours in and around Glasgow. Buchanan Galleries will be open as usual throughout the weekend. The only change is on Monday, April 21st, when the doors will open a little later than normal, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Silverburn is open all weekend long. On Good Friday, the centre will welcome shoppers from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Easter Sunday will see it open from 9 a.m. and close at 7 p.m, while both Easter Sunday and Bank Holiday Monday will see the centre trading from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. St Enoch's will also be open as usual across the Easter weekend. However, on Monday, April 21st, most stores inside the centre won't be open until 10 a.m, so it's worth planning your visit accordingly. East Kilbride Shopping Centre is sticking to its standard hours. That said, shoppers are advised to check with individual stores directly, as opening times may vary from one retailer to another. The Forge will also be sticking to their usual opening hours over the weekend. Glasgow Fort will be open right through the weekend, sticking to its regular hours on Good Friday, with doors open from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. On Saturday, April 19th, the shopping park will be open from 9 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Easter Sunday trading will run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m, and on Bank Holiday Monday, it will return to its usual opening hours from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. Phil Goodman, Centre Director at Glasgow Fort, says the centre is going all out to make Easter weekend one to remember. He said, "We know the Easter break is a cherished time for families to relax, reconnect and make lasting memories. That's why we're delighted to be hosting a wide range of exciting Easter activities and deals all in one destination, from offers on seasonal crafts to discounts and Easter-themed menus at some of our most popular restaurants." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Amy Miles, and it was read by me, Corey.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 19th of April 2025, from the news section, exclusive. Man dumped mattress and freezer on Kirkintilloch riverbank. This article is an exclusive by Connor Gordon. A man who dumped household waste on the banks of a river has been fined £715. David Thompson, 48, was spotted taking furniture and appliances to the Luggy River, Kirkintilloch, on November 15th, 2023. The matter was reported by a witness to East Bartonshire Council's Community Safety Department. The witness stated that the household waste had come from a property in the waterside area. Prosecutor Tammy Gibson told Glasgow Sheriff Court the witness advised he saw two men transporting this waste within a supermarket trolley. Thompson, of Kirkintilloch, was later identified by photographs provided by another witness. Other witnesses attended the area to inspect the scene. Miss Gibson said, "A mattress, a white fridge freezer, and a shopping trolley were dumped within the burn next to the substation situated on Bankhead Road next to Luggy Grove. It was later discovered that Thompson had offered to remove the belongings of a deceased person from the property for a fee. Thompson was chased and he accepted that he arranged to remove the waste and dispose of it. He was initially offered a fixed penalty notice of £500, but attempts to serve the notice on him were not responded to. Thompson pleaded guilty to depositing controlled waste without authorisation of the local authority or in possession of a waste management licence." And the article was an exclusive written by Connor Gordon and read by Ian McKenna.
This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday the 22nd of April 2025 from the news section. Glasgow charity boss who met the Pope pays emotional tribute. This article is by Anne Fotheringham. The head of a Glasgow charity who took part in Pope Francis' last major event before his illness has described the late pontiff as brave and dignified. Magnus MacFarlane Barrow, CEO and founder of Mary's Meals, which is based in Kinning Park, attended the Children's Rights Summit in the Vatican on February the 3rd. Magnus said, "Even when I saw him at what turned out to be his last major meeting, he was clearly coping with health issues and he was struggling to breathe. But that didn't stop him passionately telling all of us that nothing is more important than the life of a child. Even in his suffering, he insisted on staying with us for most of that day, an intense working session, and he made sure, too, that he didn't leave any of us without a personal warm greeting and a smile that somehow, on every occasion I met him, left me with a deep new feeling of hope and courage." Mary's Meals grew out of a charity called Scottish International Relief, which was set up after Magnus and his brother Fergus took aid from their home in Scotland to Bosnia-Herzegovina during the conflict in 1992. It now feeds millions of children in some of the world's poorest countries by providing a hot school meal each day. Magnus added, "It was a fitting last meeting, I suppose, a continuation of what he said at the start of his pontificate in 2013, speaking on behalf of all those who suffer because of the scandal of hunger, reminding the world that we are in front of a global scandal of around 1 billion people who still suffer from hunger today. We cannot look the other way and pretend this does not exist. The food available in the world is enough to feed everyone." Magnus said the Pope's words and actions have been a source of great encouragement to all of us working to eradicate hunger, and we need to let them inspire us to action now more than ever. He added, "As we mourn him, let's celebrate his life and honor his memory by continuing to lift our voices in an unending roar on behalf of every neglected, ignored, and hungry child in this world. And let us pray as Pope Francis taught us, asking God to give us the grace to envisage a world in which no one must ever again die of hunger." That article was by Anne Fotheringham. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday, the 22nd of April 2025, from the news section. Corey Rafferty guilty of having a knife in Clydebank. This article is by Tristan Stewart Robertson. A whistling criminal has admitted shouting abuse at Clydebank police office in Hogmanay. Corey Rafferty whistled through his teeth as he was led from custody into the dock at Dumbarton Sheriff Court last week. The 19-year-old, a prisoner at Polmont, pleaded guilty to acting in an aggressive manner, shouting, swearing, and uttering abusive remarks on December 31st, 2024. He also admitted having a knife at the station. He was on 2 bail orders from Glasgow Sheriff Court and 1 from Dumbarton. Sheriff James Mulgrew said there was 1 relevant previous conviction. Rafferty's defence solicitor said her client's behaviour in the police station was not why we're here, compared to having an offensive weapon. The sheriff called for background reports and deferred sentence until May 12. The teenager whistled again as he was returned to the cells. That article was by Tristan Stewart Robertson. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday, the 22nd of April 2025, from the lifestyle section. Popular Glasgow chippy launched a unique new menu item. This article is by Ben Waddell. A popular Glasgow chippy chain has launched a unique new menu item. Blue Lagoon Fish and Chips, which has multiple venues across the city, will now be dishing up sausage éclairs. The new dish consists of a deep-fried pork sausage in batter, which is topped with cheese and curry sauce. Announcing the new item, the chippy said, "Who knew indulgence could look this good?" The iconic sausage éclair is back at Blue Lagoon, crispy, juicy, and dangerously delicious. You've never had comfort food like this before. That article was by Ben Waddell. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday, the 22nd of April 2025, from the lifestyle section. Rangers, rare 1972 European shirt to be auctioned next month. This article is by Martin Macmillan. A special jersey from Rangers' 1972 European Cup Winners' Cup Triumph is set to be auctioned. The match-worn Tommy McLean shirt from the victory over Dynamo Moscow is expected to fetch between £15,000 and £20,000 at the Graham Budd auctions on May the 21st. The description on the Graham Budd website reads, Tommy McLean rare blue number 7 Rangers vs Dynamo Moscow match worn European Cup Winners' Cup Final long-sleeved shirt, 1972, Umbro, M with crew neck collar and embroidered badge inscribed European Cup Winners' Cup Final 1972. The jersey is one of several pieces of Scottish football memorabilia that will feature at the auction. Other items will include kits from Rangers, Celtic, Scotland and Dundee. The 1972 victory was Rangers' first European Cup Winners' Cup final win after defeats in 1961 and 1967. The Barca Bears defeated Rennes, Sporting Club, Torino and Bayern Munich to reach the final. Then, in front of 35,000 spectators at the Nou Camp on May 24, 1972, Rangers defeated Dynamo Moscow 3-2 with goals from Willie Johnston and Colin Stein. The Rangers team of 1972 subsequently became known as the Barca Bears and are revered in the club's history for their European success. The shirt is therefore considered a significant piece of memorabilia for collectors and Rangers fans alike. The auction will take place on Wednesday, May 21st, giving fans a chance to own a piece of history. That article was by Martin Macmillan. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday the 22nd of April 2025 from the news section. School near Glasgow praised by inspectors for dyslexia support. This article is by Anne Fotheringham. A Rutherglen Primary, which is leading the way on supporting children with dyslexia, has been praised by inspectors. The Education Scotland team said Calderwood Primary's approach should be shared more widely, and also commended the school for its highly positive work in helping children understand and celebrate difference. Head teacher Jen Innes and her staff team have introduced pupil diversity ambassadors who learn about cultural, social and learning differences in a bid to challenge discrimination, and dyslexia ambassadors to help break down stereotypes. The inspectors noted, children and staff are committed to being a dyslexia-friendly school. The ambassadors planned and delivered an assembly to share information on dyslexia with all children, and created posters of famous people who are dyslexic and overcame barriers to be highly successful in their fields. This is supporting children who require support with learning to develop their confidence, self-esteem and motivation for learning. The inspection report also praised the aspirational and inclusive culture of learning in Calderwood Primary School and added, all staff provide encouraging and nurturing relationships. As a result, children are highly motivated and engage very well in their learning across the curriculum. The inspectors said, staff, parents and community partners work very well together to provide experiences and events that support all children to participate and achieve success, and commended children's strong progress and attainment in literacy and numeracy. Recently, to help pupils with the move to high school, the school set up secondary-style classes, including science and practical cookery, with children changing rooms and subjects at regular intervals. Jennifer Innes said, we are a happy school with a welcoming and inclusive ethos. The principles of nurture permeate every aspect of our practice, and we get to know all our children and families extremely well. We have a strong focus on equity, inclusion, and celebrating diversity and individuality, and so are delighted our work in this area has been recognized with our dyslexia ambassadors and diversity ambassadors getting a special mention in the report as a practice worth sharing more widely. She added, we have a fantastic staff team and the report highlights our consistent, high-quality learning and teaching. The staff always go above and beyond for our pupils. As an area for improvement, inspectors advised staff should continue to develop ways to support children to identify their own next steps and to reflect on the skills they are developing across their learning over time. Councillor Lindsay Hamilton, chairperson of South Lanarkshire Council's Education Resources Committee, said, congratulations to head teacher Jennifer Innes, her teachers and all the learning community for their hard work to attain such a very good report. The report praises the positive impact this has had to ensure pupils are proudly at the heart of such a supportive and active community. There is a real specialness at the school, with staff going the extra mile. The full report is available on the Education Scotland website. That article was by Anne Fotheringham. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday the 22nd of April 2025 from the news section. The global superstar rock band with roots in Glasgow tenement. One of the biggest rock bands in the world is on its way to Scotland as part of a mammoth world tour this summer. However, it might come as a surprise to learn global superstars AC/DC's roots stretch all the way back to a street in Glasgow's East End. Brothers Malcolm and Angus Young, who formed the Australian rock band in Sydney in 1973, spent their early childhood in a tenement flat on Skerryvore Road in Cranhill, and they attended Milncroft Primary. The Youngs emigrated to Australia when Angus was 8 years old and Malcolm was 10, on the £10 POM ticket scheme, which saw thousands of Scottish families take up the offer of a new life down under. In 2023, calls for a memorial to the band in Glasgow followed the decision by the Royal Australian Mint to commission a series of commemorative coins to mark the 50th anniversary of the group. There is already a statue to former AC/DC frontman Bon Scott in his native Kirriemuir in Angus, where a regular music festival, Bonfest, also pays tribute to the singer. AC/DC's first live album, If You Want Blood, You've Got It, was recorded at the band's 1978 concert in legendary Glasgow music venue, the Apollo. The concert is hailed as being one of the best of their career. The band dressed in Scotland football strips for the encore. In 2011, an exhibition celebrating the band took place at Kelvingrove Art Gallery and Museum. More than 10,000 people visited the venue, and anyone who turned up wearing a school uniform like Angus's stage persona was not charged the £2 entry fee. Around 450 items were on display, including a leather jacket owned by Bon Scott and handwritten lyrics from Highway to Hell, which appeared on the 1979 album of the same name. There were also copies of immigration papers signed when the Young and Scott families arrived in Australia, a prototype version of Angus's schoolboy outfit, and one of his custom-made guitars. It was the first time the band-approved show had left Australia, and Kelvingrove was its only European date. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday the 22nd of April 2025 from the news section. Thousands facing chaos as Glasgow's Clyde Tunnel could close. This article is by Ben Waddell. Thousands of drivers are facing traffic chaos as strikes could close a major Glasgow road. GMB Scotland is set to ballot the team controlling the Clyde Tunnel in the city on industrial action after a council pay offer was overwhelmingly rejected. The Daily Record reports that Glasgow City Council will be handed the formal vote on the strikes today, Tuesday, April 22nd. Due to the potential walkout, the union has warned that the action could shut down the tunnel while workers strike. The vote on the industrial action is set to take place next week. Keir Greenaway, GMB Scotland's senior organiser in public services, said, "The workers at the Clyde Tunnel ensure thousands of motorists travel safely and without delay every day. They keep the city moving, and without their expertise and experience, one of Scotland's most important roads could close with untold disruption." Hitting out at the 3% pay offer made to council workers, Greenaway said it was unacceptable. He said the offer is nowhere close to matching the commitment of council workers, adding pennies to the hourly rate paid to the lowest paid staff. The frontline roles of our members on the Clyde Tunnel and their colleagues across Scotland's councils deserve to be properly recognised and fairly rewarded. They have been offered an annual increase below inflation as household bills continue to climb. Not one, not least the councils, could have been surprised when it was overwhelmingly rejected, and they should not be surprised when our members take whatever action is necessary to be paid fairly. Glasgow's Clyde Tunnel is used by around 65,000 vehicles per day. A Glasgow City Council spokeswoman said, "We will await the outcome of the ballot and officers will continue to engage with the unions." That article was by Ben Waddell. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday the 22nd of April 2025 from the news section. Warning ahead of unique festival in Hamilton this weekend. This article is by Ben Waddell. A traffic warning has been issued ahead of a unique music festival in South Lanarkshire. The Stereo Funk Festival 2025 will take place at Hamilton Racecourse on Saturday, April the 26th. Ahead of the event this weekend, Traffic Scotland is warning motorists that traffic may be heavier than normal on the M74, the A725 and other local routes. Stereo Funk is a unique boutique music festival and is a well-established event in the Scottish clubbing calendar. The beloved music event has been running since 2005. The article was by Ben Waddell. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday, 22nd of April 2025, from the news section. Warning issued ahead of big event in Glasgow this weekend. This article is by Ben Waddell. A warning has been issued ahead of a big event in Glasgow this weekend. The Women's Scottish Cup semi-final will take place at Hampden Park in the South Side on Saturday, April the 26th at 12:15 p.m. The clash will see Glasgow City take on Motherwell. Ahead of it, Traffic Scotland has warned drivers that traffic is likely to be heavier on the M74, M77, M8 and M80 motorways before and after the game. That article was by Ben Waddell. This is from the Glasgow Times of Tuesday, the 22nd of April 2025, from the news section. Woman arrested after early morning incident in Renfrewshire. This article is by Ben Waddell. A woman has been arrested following an early morning robbery in Renfrewshire. The incident happened at around 6:50 a.m. on Friday, April the 18th, in the Ardgrave Crescent area of Houston. Police have now revealed a 36-year-old woman has been nicked and charged. And the report from the police was a woman 36 has been arrested and charged following a robbery in Houston, Renfrewshire. The incident happened around 6:50 a.m. on Friday the 18th of April 2025 in the Ardgrave Crescent area of the town. The woman was released on an undertaking to appear in court at a later date. That article was by Ben Waddell.
Evening Times, April 22. Opinion. Annie Wells says cervical cancer screening in Scotland is in chaos. In 2023, this newspaper launched a campaign to encourage more women to come forward for cervical cancer screening. Like most awareness drives of this nature, it was reckoned at a low uptake rate could be improved simply by urging more females to sign up and to persuade them that a smear test, however uncomfortable, would be well worth it. Either the patient would have peace of mind that she was not in danger from one of the biggest killers of Scottish young women, or problems could be detected and dealt with at an early stage. For years, the onus was put firmly on the patient to step forward and make the difference. But since that campaign, it has become clear that the problems do not lie with women themselves, but the system. For at least the last 2 years, the screening system in Scotland has been in chaos. Public Health Scotland have been rightly held to account in these pages over their failure to properly publish statistics around screening, and now they are looking at data quality issues, which could mean some inaccurate readings were given. This cannot be taken lightly. The disease kills around 100 Scottish women a year, and many of these could have been prevented with an active and high-profile screening programme. Now, research by my own office has cast further doubt on this. Not only is the Scottish Government, through its PHS Quango, unable to publish statistics, but there is disparity in what health boards themselves are able to produce. For example, NHS 5 has claimed it does not hold the information, which seems incredible. And yet our own health board, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, to its credit, can provide the data. They were able to tell me that 357,503 women were offered screening in 23-24, of which 233,241 attended for that potentially life-saving check. That's an uptake rate of 65.2%, a slight decrease on previous years. That is likely to be one of the lowest in Scotland, a position we have had in Glasgow for some time, but at least the Health Board is bothering to gather the figures. If they can do it, why on earth can it not be replicated across the country? People might question why the specific act of gathering and publishing data is important. Surely what matters is women are checked and treated, and it doesn't matter who knows about it. But the analysis of statistics like this is vital to identify where there are problems, who is not coming forward for tests, where they live, where they work, what age they are, and any other information about their lives. That allows a targeted campaign to engage these women and persuade them that a smear test could genuinely save their lives. Indeed, it was the city's low screening rate that motivated the Glasgow Times to launch its Don't Fear the Smear campaign. So, in health, more than any other policy area, statistics matter. If health chiefs in Glasgow can provide the numbers, there is no reason why it cannot be done across the country. Some action on this front will help persuade more women to come forward, meaning more lives will be saved. After 2 years of farce, we cannot waste any more time, says Annie Wells. Evening Times, April 22. Opinion. Patrick Harvey says, Greens ready to build on most impactful period in our party's history. Unlike most political parties, the Scottish Greens re-elect our co-leaders every 2 years, and earlier this month I announced my decision not to seek re-election for the role when our members vote this summer. I am grateful to everyone who has been in touch and offered kind words in the days since. It has been a genuine honour to be elected and re-elected to leadership roles within the party for such a long time, but I think it's high time that a new face joined the leadership team ahead of next year's Holyrood election. Inevitably, I have been reflecting on the journey the Scottish Greens have been on, as we have developed since the modern Scottish Parliament was first elected. We got our first foot in the door back in 1999, and although there was a growing awareness of the wider Green movement, few people took the party seriously, and our membership was still measured in the hundreds. Even when we gained more MSPs in 2003, and I was first elected to represent Glasgow as the city's Green MSP, the prospect of us having any real influence felt very far off. The chance of making a real difference in people's lives, like getting the government to invest in cutting energy bills, cheaper public transport, or introducing fairer taxation and rent controls, all seemed very remote. The change over the years has been extraordinary. It is thanks to the work of our thousands of members around the country that we have steadily built political credibility. That is how we have evolved to become the most significant, sustained new movement in Scottish politics for generations, working for people and planet. One of the lines of poetry engraved in the wall of the Scottish Parliament is, "Work as if you live in the early days of a better nation," a line popularised by Alistair Gray. In some ways, Scotland is a fairer, greener, and more equal place than it was in those early days. In other ways, the promise is yet to be fulfilled. When I think of some of the big achievements of devolution, such as free tuition for students, the introduction of equal marriage, the Scottish child payment, and free bus travel for young people, I know that we won't be going back. But at the same time, there are too many areas where progress has fallen short. The level of child poverty and deprivation is still a national scandal. Ambition in tackling the climate crisis has been thwarted by those who set targets, but then sabotage the policies needed to meet them. We are now seeing the growth of far-right ideas, demonising people like asylum seekers, attacking LGBTQ+ human rights, and promoting climate change denial. And instead of challenging and opposing this agenda, too much of the mainstream in politics is imitating or embracing it. Green politics could hardly be more of a contrast with the rise of dangerous forces in today's political climate. Green policies and politics must be about finding hope in difficult times and making a difference in the real world. Not just during my time in a leadership role, but throughout the 2.5 decades of the devolution era, what we've built is the capacity and the credibility to make change happen, so we can now point to a track record of doing it, not just talking about it. That is true about Scotland, and it is certainly true in Glasgow, where our campaigners and councillors have played a crucial role in ensuring that Greens are a permanent and growing feature of our city's politics. Stepping back from a leadership role will be a big change for me and for my party, but the election of co-leaders this year will be a crucial moment, and I am looking forward to a debate about how we can build on the most impactful period in our party's history and deliver the biggest possible group of Green MSPs in 2026, whether by tackling inequality, boosting green energy and cutting bills, or helping Scotland gain its independence. Green voices will continue to be crucial, says Patrick Harvey. Evening Times, April 17. Opinion. Soraya Siddiq says, "Our role is to make sure no community is forgotten." As Councillor George Redmond steps down as leader of Glasgow Labour, I can say that George led with heart, fire, and East End grit. He was always ready to stand his ground and fight for what mattered. I am proud to have stood beside him in a position I never imagined I could hold. His belief in people like me was not just symbolic, it was action. I say it often because it is still hard to believe. A woman of colour raised in a tenement by migrant parents, now helping lead Glasgow Labour. Representation matters. It shapes how we lead, whose voices we centre, and the futures young people believe are possible. Glasgow is a city built on hard work, community and pride, but it is also a city that has had to fight for the basics: safe housing, decent jobs, good schools and public services that work. As councillors, our role is to make sure no community is forgotten, but too often we are left trying to fix the damage caused by governments that fail to deliver. Look at the state of our local services. Communities are dealing with underfunded schools, overflowing bins, broken roads, and overstretched care systems. These are not just everyday frustrations. They are the result of political choices. And while SNP ministers are quick to blame Westminster, the truth is they have received record levels of funding. The money is there, the powers are there, the priorities are not. Instead of supporting local services, the SNP have centralised control, built up reserves and underspent in critical areas like health and care. Council workers, working class communities and families are left to cope. These are not statistics, these are the people we serve. Glasgow Labour continues to fight for practical, community-first solutions, from action on women's safety and demanding investment in housing, to pushing for fairer funding for our young people and backing workers every step of the way. We show up and do the work. Politics at every level must do better. The Labour government has made progress, from strengthening workers' rights to delivering record investment. But that progress must not come at the expense of the most vulnerable, from disabled people to pensioners. We can and must deliver real changes while staying true to our values. Another threat is growing: the rise of populist parties and the far-right rhetoric should worry us all. These voices do not offer solutions, they offer scapegoats. They thrive on fear and blame those already excluded: migrants, working class communities, anyone who looks or sounds different. In Glasgow, where diversity is our strength, we must push back against that hate. That means taking a stand, and not just in words, but in how we lead and how we lift up. I have faced abuse, not for what I say or how I vote, but for the colour of my skin, for daring to lead, for simply existing in spaces where some still believe people like me do not belong. But I did not come into politics to make people comfortable. I came in to make change. For the care worker walking home at night, for the person in need of a home, for the young girl wondering if she is safe or belongs. She does, and as long as I am here, I will keep fighting for all our citizens and all our communities, for all who need our help, says Soraya Siddiq. Evening Times, April 17. Lifestyle. Scent exhibition explores history of Sauchiehall Street. Report by Beth Oliver. A new exhibition is exploring the scented history of one of Glasgow's most iconic streets. An Aromatic History of Sauchiehall Street, a collaboration between Glasgow Building Preservation Trust and perfumer Clara Wheel, showcases the past through scent. From April 19 to May 1 at Edward House, visitors are invited to engage with the history and transformation of Sauchiehall Street, known for its cultural richness and vibrant nightlife, through its past and present aromas. The exhibition offers a unique take on historical exploration, using scent to unlock memories and provide new perspectives on the city's evolution. Going beyond what we see and hear, a location's scent can tell a story. The scents of Sauchiehall Street narrate a captivating tale of commerce, community, and transformation. The Aromatic Exhibition's interactive workshops, talks, and guided sniffaries promise to redefine how we experience history. Visitors can expect to engage in a series of events that delve into the science, history, and culture of scent. It all starts with the official launch of the Not to be Sniffed At exhibition on Saturday, April 19 at noon. The opening event will explore the olfactory history of the street and the art of scent making. Then on Wednesday, April 23, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m, a session on Glasgow wetlands will highlight the surprising connections between Sauchiehall Street and Scotland's largest urban heritage and nature park. The Language of Scent, an interactive talk on Thursday, April 24, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m, will delve into the complex interplay of physical, mental, and linguistic aspects when we follow our nose. Smelly Sunday, on Sunday, April 27, from noon to 3 p.m, will invite visitors of all ages to enjoy smelly activities, including discovering the chemistry of scent and participating in hands-on activities led by researchers from the University of Glasgow. Scents of the City, a night out on Sauchiehall Street on Thursday, May 1 from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. is set to offer a unique evening with perfumer Clara Wheel and fashion historian Myra Mackenzie. Clara's Savoy Centre Sniffari on Saturday, May 3 from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is a special smell exploration of Sauchiehall Street's popular Savoy Centre. More information about the workshops and sessions taking place during the event can be found at www.gbpt.org/Sauchiehall Street. The Sauchiehall Street Culture and Heritage District Initiative is supported by the National Lottery Heritage Fund. It is delivered by Glasgow Life in partnership with Glasgow City Council. This exhibition is organised by Glasgow Building Preservation Trust in collaboration with perfumer Clara Wheel. And the report is by Beth Oliver.
From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday, 23rd of April 2025, from the news section. Drugs found in Coatbridge as 3 people charged. By Amy Miles. 3 people have been charged in connection with an alleged supply of cannabis and heroin after police searches in the Coatbridge area. Officers searched 2 cars between 10:40am and 3:30pm on Monday, April 21st, during which they allegedly discovered a substantial quantity of the drugs. A 53-year-old man, a 35-year-old man and a 43-year-old woman have been charged in connection with drug supply offences. Reports have been submitted to Airdrie Sheriff Court. A spokesperson for Police Scotland North Lanarkshire said, between 10:40am and 3:30pm on Monday, April 21st, 2025, officers on parole in the Coatbridge area carried out searches of 2 cars. From these searches, a substantial quantity of controlled drugs was recovered, including cannabis and diamorphine. This has resulted in 2 men, 53-35, and a woman, 43, being charged with drug supply offences, with reports being submitted to Airdrie Sheriff Court. And that article was written by Amy Miles and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 23rd of April 2025, from the news section, man caught with cocaine and knife. This article is uncredited. A man was caught in a bar with cocaine and a knife. Dylan Riggins of Denniston was spotted by cops at the Princess on Smithycross Road, Roodray, at 6:40pm on March 16 last year. When police searched him, they found a lockback knife in his front waistband and a small plastic bag containing 4 small bags of cocaine. The substance weighed 3.16 grams, which is worth less than £40. The 26-year-old was arrested, cautioned and charged. He appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last week after he pled guilty to behaving in an aggressive manner, being in possession of a knife and cocaine. His lawyer said, he is 26 and lives on his own. In 2022 to 2023, he lost his mother and father unexpectedly. He turned to alcohol and cocaine, and he was substantially intoxicated on that day. He has no recollection. He was at a friend's party and a local bar. 2 times he has taken steps to remove himself from negative peers. For a while he found work and did not come to the attention of the police. He then turned to alcohol and drugs, and this offence took place. He is now drug and drink free. Riggins was sentenced to 120 hours of unpaid work to be completed in 6 months. That article was unattributed and it was read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 23rd of April 2025, from the news section, residents receive Xmas cards 4 months later. This article is an exclusive by Nicole Mitchell. Residents living in Townhead have been receiving Christmas cards this month amid Royal Mail delays. Alison McKell, Chair of Townhead and Ladywell Community Council, says many residents are now choosing to travel to the G1 to G5 delivery office on Baird Street to pick up letters so they can be sure to get them all. She says on one occasion she picked up 8 letters despite the postie being out and delivering at that time. Alison explained, the postie went out and delivered 2. I went and picked up 8. I went out for the day, came back and there were 4 more letters. She says another resident picked up 20 letters when they went to the delivery office, despite the fact that they had some delivered. The 58-year-old said, Christmas cards are coming in the door to people, that's how bad it is. We're in April now, we're at Easter, never mind Christmas. Alison continued, one person told me he got 3 bills from Scottish Power telling him, you're in arrears. These are elderly people and they're panicking. It's shocking. It's across the whole of Townhead. Everybody's talking about it. The Glasgow Times previously reported residents living in the Garnet Hill and Woodlands areas, which are also covered by the Glasgow G1 to G5 delivery office, have been experiencing delays in receiving their mail. Like residents living in those areas, Alison says people living in Townhead and Ladywell have had hospital appointments, bills, bank statements and bank cards never arrive or be delivered too late, with the woman having to order a new card 3 times. She says the issue has been ongoing since around July last year. Alison says she believes part of the issue is the fact that there is currently no regular postie serving the area, with one she had spoke to earlier this month telling her he was based in Dumbarton. She said, they bring them in for one day and then not for weeks. When you do get mail, it's the wrong address, wrong letterbox, rolling square, and then if they can't get it in the main door, they just slide it under and leave it in the stairwell. After being contacted by residents about the issue, MSP Cockabs Stewart shared an online survey with community councils to gather further information for a requested meeting with the Royal Mail. The survey has received more than 50 responses so far, with more than 90% saying they've experienced issues and more than 50% saying they missed hospital appointments due to a delay in receiving letters. Ms. Stewart said, "Over the past few months, constituents throughout G1 to G5 have been in touch to share the issues that they have been experiencing with Royal Mail deliveries. After receiving a disappointing response from the Royal Mail, I have requested an urgent meeting to discuss these issues and asked constituents to share their experience with the Royal Mail through a survey. This survey has shown 91% of those responding have been experiencing issues with the Royal Mail, with 55% of those stating that they have missed hospital appointments and 43% stating they have missed bills. This is shocking, and I look forward to discussing this with the Royal Mail in person." A Royal Mail spokesperson said, "We can confirm mail continues to be delivered across the area daily, with any items not delivered one day prioritised the next. While the delivery office has experienced recent resourcing issues due to sick absence and vacancies, these have significantly reduced. We're continuing to recruit more posties to further strengthen our team and improve reliability for local residents." Ms. Stewart's Royal Mail deliveries survey for those living in the G1 to G5 areas can be accessed online. In the article was an exclusive written by Nicole Mitchell and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 23rd of April 2025, from the news section. Thug attacked pal for laughing at him. An exclusive by Esther Tarnay. A man who slipped and fell off a bus attacked his pal who laughed at him. Mark MacArthur, 34, was travelling on the bus from Blantyre to Cambuslang in the afternoon of August the 31st last year. He and Jason Hamill exited at the same stop, but as MacArthur stepped down he fell over and slipped. Mr. Hamill laughed at this. MacArthur told him, "Laugh at me one more time, Jason." Mr. Hamill returned home, but MacArthur also went to his address. He grabbed Mr. Hamill by the throat, threw him to the ground and punched him in the mouth, then stepped back and left. The attack caused a deep laceration and scratches to the neck, and Mr. Hamill needed medical treatment. An ambulance was called and Mr. Hamill was taken to the hospital, where he needed 5 stitches. Medics called police, who went to MacArthur's home, arrested him and took him to the Cathcart police station. He appeared last week at Glasgow Sheriff Court after he pleaded guilty to an assault charge. Sheriff Mark Maguire said, "I accept the circumstances were entirely unpleasant, but you have a violent record which does not do you any favours." MacArthur was sentenced to 12 months of supervision with a requirement to engage with addiction services. He was also tagged for 135 days, requiring him to stay at home between 20 to 30 p.m. and 8 a.m. each day. And that article was an exclusive by Esther Tarnay. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 23rd of April, lifestyle section. Popular comedian to play biggest ever show in Glasgow. Report by Ava White. A popular comedian is set to play his biggest show ever in Glasgow. Ray Bradshaw will take to the stage at the city's Armadillo on April the 11th, 2026 as part of his upcoming tour titled Coda. Tickets will be available on general sale from Friday, April 25th. Announcing the news on social media, Bradshaw took a trip down memory lane, revisiting all of the Glasgow venues he has performed at over the past 15 years. These included his first ever show to 30 people at the former Capital Bar in Sauchiehall Street, the Griffin, Blackfriars of Bell Street and more. In the video, Bradshaw states, "I'm doing my biggest show ever, 3,000 tickets at the ACC Armadillo. Will I be telling people I played the Sydney Opera House? Probably, because people on the internet will believe anything. General sale on April 25th. Please come, I'm so excited to be doing it. 3,000 tickets, so bring as many people as you want. It's my brand new show Coda. Like every other show, it's sign language interpreted, and come along because, if not, I'm going to have to go back to playing refurbished Italian buffet restaurants. For further information, visit Ray Bradford's website, which is www.raybradshaw.com. That report was written by Eva White and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 23rd of April, from the opinion section, Ricky Bell, Labour just can't be bothered turning up, by Ricky Bell. The past year has served as a reminder of exactly how Labour behaves when in power. The minute they were in the Downing Street door, out went the election pledges of fairness, investment and prosperity, and instead they doled out a fresh round of Tory austerity. Absolutely no one who gave their vote to Labour last July did so to usher in the scrapping of fuel support to pensioners, sanctions against the disabled, or policies which make the poor poorer. Nor did they vote for a government which instantly found itself up to its collective neck in gifts and freebie scandals, or for MPs who refused to stand up for their constituents for fear of rocking Sir Keir Starmer's boat. Labour's polling in recent months shows the scale of the regret and sense of betrayal amongst voters. Here in Glasgow, the ongoing chaos within the council's Labour group is an ugly reminder of their antics during their decades of misrule in the city. For legal reasons, there are things we can't publicly talk about regarding Glasgow Labour right now, but there's plenty about their descent into turmoil that we can. Take, for example, the recent announcement by Labour group leader George Redmond that, after less than 3 years in the post, he's jacking it in. He's standing aside to give someone else a go, he said. It wasn't so long ago that, backed by branch office boss Anis Sarwar and other Labour power brokers, Mr Redmond launched his bid to become group, and indeed council, leader. That he did so from a Spanish airport on his way home from a football match should have told his party just how committed to the job he'd be. But so bitterly divided have they been in the manner of that takeover that, effectively, two separate Labour groups have been operating on the council, with Mr Redmond having to see off at least one leadership challenge during that time. Given the strife and seemingly sudden change of heart, Glaswegian voters deserve to know from the outgoing Labour group leader and his backers exactly what's been going on. One thing we can be sure of is that Labour will continue to put party and personalities before the city and its people. The power brokers are again out to appoint their new flavour of the month, while other disgruntled councillors are jockeying for power and position. With their AGM just a few weeks away, things are getting increasingly tense. And why is this important? Because this isn't an election to the committee of the local bowling club. It's about the party of the UK government's picking its people it wants to run this city, when all the evidence is that they couldn't run a menage. Nor does it seem they're particularly interested. Labour's attendance at recent full councils has been pitiful. This is a meeting which takes place every 6 weeks and where important decisions about this city are taken. Yet, in increasing numbers, Labour just can't be bothered turning up. I get that some of them are scunnered at the antics of their bosses at both Westminster and Holyrood, but they were elected to do a job, and too many aren't even up for doing the bare minimum. It's been almost 8 years since Glasgow voted Labour out of power at the city chambers. In that time, they've continued to be engulfed in scandal and infighting, and they've saddled the city with hundreds of millions of pounds in debt, the legacy of their refusal to properly pay women workers. But as sure as Glaswegians are that the Labour lepers really don't change their spots, they can be equally sure that the SNP is getting on with the day job of delivering for Glasgow and its people. And that was a comment piece by Ricky Bell, read by Ian McKenna.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at View and Review and to tell your friends about our service.